Hey there, welcome to my channel. Hope you're doing well. So in today's video, we're going to get into the books I read in July and August. But before we do that, I want you to leave me a comment with your favorite book that you've read this summer. Mistborn by Sanderson. I can't say enough about this book. I love this book. I love the magic system. I love the characters. This book made me cry, but I really do enjoy Sanderson's writing. If you don't know what this book is about, pretty much there's a dark lord ruling over everyone, and then there are certain people trying to start a rebellion. And we get to meet those characters. We get to fall in love with those characters. We get to cry over those characters. We get to be mad at some of those characters. So if you have not started reading Mistborn, and I am not the last person to read this book, then yes, I definitely recommend it. Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. This is a 6th book in the Red Rising saga, and it was my most anticipated book of this year. I've read it, I loved it, 5 out of 5 stars. I even did a reading vlog while reading it, so go ahead and definitely check that out. It continues the story of Darrow as he's trying to make the Red Rising saga universe a better place. This is the penultimate book in this series, and it's definitely going to stick with me for the rest of the year. It's my favorite book I've read so far this year. I loved it. Did I mention I gave it 5 out of 5 stars? Because I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I love the character development in this series as well as in this book. Pierce Brown is really good at writing characters. He's good at making me love the characters. He's good at making me want the best for the characters. And he's also good at making me want to see them being boiled to death while everyone else watches. And this book did not disappoint. Of course, it did not disappoint. I already said it gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And this book did not feel like a filler book, just biding time until the final book comes out. It definitely had a lot happening. And important things happen here, and sad things happen here. But it is a Red Rising book, so I should not be surprised that sad things happen. But again, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and the next book is now my most anticipated book. Yellowface by RF Kuang. This book is so good. I had so much fun reading this. I laughed a lot reading this. It definitely was hilarious. It was just so good. So this book, if you aren't aware, is about a writer and her friend who was also a writer. We follow our main character, June, as she is pretty much dealing with her life in the publishing world. She is friends with a woman named Athena who is Asian American. June is white, and June is very jealous of Athena. Athena pretty much gets a lot of praise. She gets the very high advances, she gets the film deals, she gets all of the literary praise that June would just love to have. But one night while they're hanging out, pretty much a freak accident happens and Athena dies. But before she died, she wanted June to read her manuscript, the one that she was working on. And so June had it with her when she left. And after reading it, she decides, you know what, how about I put my little spin on things and publish it? And that's pretty much how the book starts. And then you follow June as she is dealing with so many different things in the publishing world. Again, I love this book. June is a character that just you aren't supposed to like, and I definitely rolled my eyes at her a lot while reading this. But sometimes I did find myself not wanting her to fail. I don't want to say I was rooting for her, but I didn't want her to fail. It was weird. But if you have not read Yellowface, again, I recommend it. Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. I did enjoy this as a sequel. I think I liked the first book better, but I liked the ending of this one better, I think. So in the story, we continue to follow Pip after the events of what happened in the first book, where we figured out what happened to Andy Bell and Sal Singh. So Pip, she's created a podcast telling that story. And then her close friend's brother ends up going missing. And at first she doesn't want to get involved because of everything that happened before when she was trying to figure out the whole Sal Singh Andy Bell mystery. But when the police decide not to get involved, she figures, you know what, I better get involved because someone needs to before something terrible happens. I did like that this was different in the first, where the mystery happens during the present time. The person ends up going missing, then we're trying to find them before something terrible happens. Something worse happens, I guess you can say, because they go missing, that's It's pretty terrible. And I like that I got an answer about a character that I had a question about in the first book. I'm glad that thread wasn't forgotten, and I don't have to wait till the third book to find out if that question ever gets answered. I will say the middle part does drag a little bit, it does slow down, but this book definitely picks up by the third act. And overall, I think it's a solid sequel, and there is kind of a cliffhanger at the end to leave people intrigued to figure out what's going to happen in the third book. But overall, I think I would give this a 3.5 stars. The Black Queen by Jumata Emill. So this is a YA thriller where the homecoming queen turns up dead and the supposed queen is the prime suspect. I enjoyed this one. I like the characters. I like the plot. We end up following the homecoming queen's best friend as well as the prime suspect as one tries to figure out what happened to their best friend and the other tries to prove her innocence. Oh, and try to figure out what happened to the other one. I was definitely starting to suspect everyone at some point in this book, but that is how I am when I end up reading thriller mysteries. I did end up figuring out a couple of the secrets as well as who did it. I did end up listening to this on audiobook, and I wish I had wrote down my thoughts after I had read it, because sometimes when I listen to an audiobook, the book doesn't stay with me, and then when I come here to do these wrap-up videos, there are just some things I kind of forget. But I do remember having fun reading this. I also do have this on ebook, so at some point I can always do a reread if I really want to. And I either gave this a 3.5 or a 4 at the time, but either way, I enjoyed myself while reading this. The Girl at Midnight by Melissa Gray. I forgot her name for a moment. And I will say that if you haven't just sat back and listened to an audiobook all day, well, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do, just doing it all in one day, I suggest you do that. It's really relaxing. Now with this book, I looked it up, and I think on Amazon it says for fans of City of Bones and Dire Smoking Bone, and I was like, yeah, because as I was reading it, I was thinking if City of Bones and Dire Smoking Bone had a baby, it would be this book. But yeah, I thought this book was okay. The characters were fine, the story was fine, I had a bit of fun, but I think if I had not been listening to an audiobook, I probably would have put it down. Listen to an audiobook, it was fine. It was fine. And I was already there, and I figured, you know what? I want to know how it ends. If you don't know, I'll just give you a quick rundown. This book, we follow like this human girl, and she's been taken in by this race of people, and she gets caught up in this ancient war, and she ends up finding herself in a group of people that are trying to find the Firebird, which would pretty much end the war. At least that's what they say. But yeah, I thought it was fine. It was fine. Four Found Dead by Natalie D. Richards. So I was very excited to read this book, but I didn't enjoy it quite much. I love the premise, especially the second paragraph on the back. First, the stranger arrives with a chilling accusation. Then the power goes out and their manager disappears, along with the keys to the lobby doors and the theater safe, where the crew's phones are locked each shift. Their tension turns to terror when Jo discovers the dead body of one of her co-workers. Again, I really like the premise. It's a closing movie theater. The last day of its existence is in a shopping mall that's pretty much empty, and you gotta run away from the killer. But I didn't really like this book. It didn't really do it for me. I was thinking that maybe if it was written in third person, I would have liked it more, but it wasn't for me. It was definitely not a book for me, and I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. What is funny, I thought this was my first Christina Lauren book, but it turns out it isn't. It's my second one. I read, I think it's called In the Holidays a few years ago around Christmas time. I just forgot I read it. I think I have a physical copy somewhere in my apartment. I don't know if I still have it. I have no idea. But I did enjoy reading this book. It's a romance and also like an adventure story. We follow these two characters, Lily and Leo. It's a second chance romance. It was very cute. I enjoyed it very much. I like the adventure aspect of it. I think I decided I wanted to read this after going to see the new Indiana Jones movie. I was like, I'm in the mood for something adventure-y, so I guess it's weird that I ended up picking a Christina Lauren book, but I don't see anything wrong with that, so. But I did enjoy the characters. I enjoyed the romance. I had a good time. I'd probably give it like a 3.5 out of 5. I liked it. I finished the Inheritance Games. So this follows a girl named Avery who is down on her luck. And one day she learns that she is in a will of a very wealthy man. A man who's a stranger to her. So she ends up going to a reading of the will, and then she learns that she has been left the estate. she's pretty much his heir. Now, it's not like he was by himself. He did have family. He had daughters, and one of his daughters had 4 sons, and one of them just assumed that they were going to be the heir. And in order for Avery to receive this inheritance, she was going to have to stay in that house for a year, in Hawthorne House. And with this, Avery is trying to figure out why exactly is it that she was left this inheritance instead of the members of this man's family. So we end up following her and some of the brothers as they try to figure out exactly what their grandfather's plan was. So we end up following that. Also, Avery ends up being in danger, so that's another plot point that we have. And also there was, I almost said murder, but no. And also there was a death that happened outside of the head of the family. And that's another thing that Avery is trying to figure out. I was really enjoying this. I would say that I liked the characters, I liked following them, and the chapters were really short. And once I was done with the chapter, there was like a mini like little cliffhanger where you wanted to keep reading. So I think that's really good about this book. Outside of the like mystery that we're following to see why Avery was left this inheritance, there also is a love triangle. And I will say with this love triangle, she has a love triangle pretty much between 2 of the brothers. And with one of the brothers, I understand because they do spend time with each other, they get to know each other and stuff like that. And you can see why she has a crush on him and why he would have a crush on her. But with the other brother, I don't see why he would have a crush on her or would like her or anything. I don't see it. I don't get it. I'm guessing that's the brother she's going to end up with, but I'm going to continue reading with this trilogy or series. I think another book is either out or it's coming out. I don't know, but I'm gonna continue reading. So I guess I'll figure out which brothers she ends up choosing, or many of them. I don't know. But I will give you my ranking of the brothers. I would go Xander, Jameson, Nash, and then Grayson. I think with Grayson, although he was in the book, I didn't feel like I don't know, I just don't feel like I know him. Maybe I'll get to know him more, or maybe I just didn't like as much of what I saw. Now, with the plot of figuring out why exactly Avery was given this inheritance, for a moment there at the end, I was kind of disappointed because I was like, no, this cannot be the reason why. No, this is boring. No. And then I kept reading and I was like, okay. And it was something that I guess really early on, I was like, oh, there it is. So I kind of predicted it happening earlier on, and I'm very happy to say that that is what is going on. And it made me excited to read on in this series, because if it had just left off with that small thing being the reason, I would have been, I don't know. I don't think I would have wanted to continue, or maybe I would have continued, but I don't know. I'm just happy that that wasn't the reason, and we're continuing on that there's something else going on. So we'll say I'd give this book a 3.5 out of 5. It's a solid book. I enjoyed myself while reading it. I had fun. So those are books I've read in the last couple of months. Let me know if you've read any of these. I'm curious to get your thoughts on them. Oh, and if you'd like to watch a recent vlog that I've done, go ahead and click on this video. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in a new video.